Okay, we're in section 29, the notes, and this is the material on relations and functions. I want to point out the relationships we're talking about are relationships between X and Y. And sometimes those relations are just going to be relations, but we really need to get across to you that not all relationships are functional. So we want to talk about what a function is. This is an introduction. It's abstract. It's going to be difficult. The words are going to be difficult. The way I'm going to do examples, though, is I'm going to try to simplify this thing into a visual problem. But right now, storytelling time, I'm going to read through this for you. We'll talk about it. As we go through examples, though, most students are not looking at this defining feature of what a relationship is and what a functional relationship is. They're just not looking at it. What they need is a very simple process to get through that. And we'll talk about that as we do examples. But I still need to get through this, and I will go to the whiteboard in a second. The lecture will be short, though. And for the most part, I talk about, this information over here about relationships and about functions. But what we need to do is we need to understand that this stuff over here, although very difficult to read through for a large number of students, you have to be able to do problems. What kind of problems? Problems that follow. We will talk about how I would like you to think about those problems as they relate to these words. Typically, for me, it's a visual process. All right. So we go to the whiteboard. And again, I know it's going to be difficult, but we do need to go through this. All right. I'm going to go to the whiteboard in a second. We're going to do a share. And give me a second here. Go ready. All right. I know it's going to be tough. I always say reading is tough. And don't feel alone if you're having trouble with the reading. Everyone does, myself included. A lot of times I'm reading things, I don't know what they're saying. All right. This is an introduction. When I say it's an introduction to functions and relations. Now, the relationships we're going to talk about initially are going to be relationships between X and Y. So X will be related to Y and Y will be related to X. Right? X is related to Y, Y is related to X. Not all relationships are going to be functional relationship. So we need to know what a function means. Here's the deal, though. You could read this through, dozens and dozens of times, but still not know what's expected of you. That's when we get to the examples. But I want to go through this definition of a function, right? Definition of a function. Let's read through it. A function, f, from a set A to a set B. I'm going to kind of visualize that for you with a little picture. There's a relationship between the two, all right? So I'm going to say there's a set A, and there's, let me just go back to, I don't like using that. I'm going to use pen instead. There's going to be a set A here. And there's going to be a set B here. Again, we're just reading. We're trying to visualize what we read. So I know there's a relationship between the two. Now they're calling the relationship a functional relationship. So I'm going to use the letter F just like they did. All right. So I'll put this over here. And all they're saying is from a set A to a set B. So I'm going to say there has to be some connection from A to the set B. All right. So what's A? A is a set. What's B? B is a set. What's F? It defines a relationship between whoever's in A with somebody in B. All right, let's go over that again. We're going to read it to you. A function F, again, key word there, function F. By the way, there's a footnote there. You can read the foot if you want. From a set A to a set B. Right? It says it's a relationship. Yep, there's a relationship between the two. There's a connection between the two that assigns, right, to each element X in the set A. So now I'm starting to realize they're referencing A as having an X in it. Let's go with the black ink. I'll put that in quote marks, by the way. There's some X there. And then they go on to say, it assigns, well, maybe I'll underline that for you, assigns to each element X in the set A exactly one element Y in the set B. So now I understand they've got a Y over here All right, let's just point this out to you. Everybody in this set needs to be assigned somebody over here. Everybody here needs to be assigned somebody over here. Okay? I'm going to keep reading. And again, I know it's difficult. The set A, whoops, I did it again. The set A is the domain. The set B contains the range. All right, I'm going to write this down for you. This is domain. I get the black ink. So it says X is a domain, but they say over here that this thing over here actually contains the range. These are going to be big words that you're going to see in mathematics a lot. One is the word domain, one is the word range. All right. So it says, and again, keep reading it. I know it's a lot of words. It says the values of Y that are paired with the X's. You should note that B is not necessarily the range. It just contains the range. Let me outline that for you. That's it. All right. Let's look for conditions now that need to be met. All right. These are really important. The characteristics. Let's look at one. And again, we're just reading through it. Each element of A must be matched with an element from B. An element from A cannot be matched with two different elements of B. Now, a lot of students reading that have a tough time with that. When we get to examples, though, we're going to outline something we don't want happening. Now, I want to say what we do want happening. We want everybody in A to be matched with somebody in B. Here's what we're looking out for, though. After we get that condition covered, the next thing, an element from A cannot be matched with two elements from B, and we'll look out for that. All right. Not all relationships are functional. This is really important for you to get. Not all relationships are functional, and you'll be asked if they're functional. They'll give you a relationship. They'll say, is it a functional relationship? The answer is either yes or no. As we go through examples, though, we'll be looking at the conditions that need to be met, and we will describe this visually for you. We'll take very simple examples. All right. One last point. This is important. Never divide by zero. Now, why is that? You're going to see problems like this, and they're going to ask you what the domain of it is. Right? Remember what domain is. Domain is the X's. So domain, we'll do other example. It's basically what are the X's? Now, what I like to do is I like to say everyone comes in. I don't say anyone's bad. I wouldn't say that. So I'm going to say all real numbers. We have shorthand for this, and the shorthand for this is a blackboard R. It looks like an R with an additional line on the side. How's that read? All real numbers. So I'm looking at this problem over here, and I'd say, hey, all real numbers can come in, but then I got to look out for this. Is there a division by zero? And there is. When does that occur? When X is 3. So I would simply say here, all the real numbers except, I cannot accept 3. If 3 shows up, I'll say 3, you can't come in. And you say, why can't it come in? I say, because you cause a division by 0. Got to look out for that. All right. Now, last but not least, let me just read this to you. It says over here, don't get your brain in a bunch over what I just introduced to you. We will go through very simplistic examples to hammer this across. As you move forward in mathematics, though, it might be a good idea to reread this and keep thinking about it. All right. Not that you're going to get all the details. It may be too many details for you at this point. Now, I say that it's really not a large section. If you look at it, it's like a half a page of notes here. Again, it may take a lifetime to understand that, though, but we will go through examples. And the examples we go through are illustrating the points that we're trying to make that pertain to the problems that you'll be seeing in the homeworks and on exams. Okay, thank you.